Buckle up because we're about to dive headfirst into the most jaw-dropping, heart-pounding television moment of the year of fiery showdown that left millions of viewers stunned, social media ablaze, and the entertainment world reeling when America's beloved country music queen Reba McEntire stepped onto the dazzling stage of The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. No one could have predicted the explosive confrontation that would unfold. What started as a routine promotional appearance spiraled into a raw, unfiltered clash of values, egos, and ideals that had audiences glued to their screens and sparked a national conversation. Before we unpack every electrifying detail, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below. Tell me what you think ignited this unforgettable TV moment. Trust me, you won't miss a single word of this wild ride. Picture the Studio 6B in New York City, the iconic home of The Tonight Show. The lights are bright, the audience is buzzing, and Jimmy Fallon, the golden boy of late-night TV, is in his element, flashing his megawatt smile. The stage is set for what should have been a breezy, feel-good interview with Reba McEntire, the undisputed queen of country music. Reba was there to promote her latest album, a soul-stirring collection of songs, and share details about her upcoming tour. The crowd was packed with fans, the cameras were rolling, and the atmosphere crackled with excitement. Everything seemed perfectly normal until it wasn't. Jimmy kicked things off with his signature charm. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the incredible, the legendary Reba McEntire. He announced, his voice booming over familiar theme music. The audience erupted as Reba glided onto the stage, radiant in a flowing burgundy dress, her iconic red hair catching the light. She waved at the cheering crowd, every inch the seasoned performer who had conquered country music charts, Broadway stages, and television screens. Reba was no stranger to the spotlight, and her warm Oklahoma-bred smile lit up the room as she settled into the guest chair. Reba, welcome back to the show, Jimmy said, standing up from behind his desk, arms open for the customary hug. You look absolutely fantastic. How are you feeling? I'm doing wonderful, Jimmy. Thank you so much for having me back, Reba replied, her voice as smooth as honey, her smile as genuine as ever. It's always such a pleasure to be here. We are thrilled to have you. Jimmy gushed, picking up a copy of Reba's new album from his desk and holding up for the cameras. I have to say, your new album is incredible. I've been listening to it nonstop. The vocals, the storytelling, everything about it is just pure magic. Tell us about the inspiration behind this collection of songs. Reba leaned forward slightly, her eyes sparkling with passion. Well, you know, Jimmy, this album is really about authentic storytelling. It's about real experiences, real emotions, and connecting with people through honest music. In today's world, I think we've lost some of that authenticity, especially in the entertainment industry. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Jimmy nodded, his enthusiasm seemingly boundless. But then he veered into dangerous territory with a question that seemed innocent but carried a hidden edge. And speaking of authenticity, I have to ask about something that's been all over social media lately. There has been some talk about country music artists and their political views, how that affects their music and their fan base. Were your thoughts on that? The question hung in the air, and something subtle shifted in Reba's expression. Her smile became just a touch more reserved, her eyes a fraction more guarded. She paused for a moment before responding, choosing her words with care. Jimmy, I've always believed that music should bring people together, not divide them. My job is to entertain, to tell stories that resonate with people regardless of their personal beliefs or political affiliations. Right. Absolutely, Jimmy said, nodding vigorously. But instead of moving on, he pressed further, stepping onto a path that would soon prove treacherous. But don't you think artists have a responsibility to speak out on important issues? I mean, you have such a massive platform, such influence. Shouldn't you use that to make a difference? Reba's posture stiffened ever so slightly, and her voice took on a measured tone laced with the steel of a woman who had navigated the music industry for over 4 decades. Jimmy, I've been in this business for a long time. I've learned that when you start telling people how to think or how to vote, you're not respecting their intelligence or their right to make their own decisions. My fans are smart people who don't need me to tell them what to believe. The audience sensed a shift, a faint ripple of tension beneath the polished surface of the interview. Jimmy, however, seemed oblivious to the warning signs. But surely there are some issues that are just right and wrong. Black and white, he pressed his casual demeanor, masking an increasingly pointed line of questioning. Climate change, social justice, equality. These aren't really political issues. Are they their human issues? Don't you think? Reba's famous warmth began to cool, her expression growing more guarded. Jimmy, with respect, I think you're oversimplifying some very complex issues. Life isn't as black and white as Hollywood likes to pretend it is. There are good people on all sides of these debates, and they deserve to have their voices heard and their perspectives respected. The studio grew quiet of the audience, sensing that this was no ordinary late-night banter. Jimmy leaned back in his chair, his smile still plastered on, but starting to look strained. Well, I mean, sure, but when we're talking about basic human rights, he continued, seemingly unaware of the storm brewing. Don't you think there's a moral obligation to stand up for what's right? Your fans look up to you. They trust you, and that's exactly why I'm careful about what I say, Reba replied, her voice firming up, her Oklahoma accent carrying a quiet strength. Because I respect them enough not to abuse that trust by pushing my personal agenda on them. They come to my concerts to escape all the noise and division for a few hours, to feel connected to something beautiful and meaningful. That's what music is supposed to do. Jimmy could change course here, could have steered the conversation back to safer waters, but instead, he lit the fuse that would ignite a firestorm. I just find it interesting that someone with your platform chooses to stay neutral on issues that affect so many people. Some might say that it's a privilege, that not everyone can afford. The words landed like a grenade, and the audience collectively held its breath. Reba's eyes flashed with fire that those who knew her recognized as a warning. Signed the steel backbone of a woman who had faced down countless challenges in her career, Jimmy. She said slowly, her voice calm, but laced with an edge that could cut glass. I need you to stop right there. I'm sorry, I don't understand, Jimmy replied, his smile faltering. I'm just asking questions that I think our audience is curious about. No, you're not asking questions, Reba said, her composure beginning to crack, revealing the raw emotion beneath. Your making accusations. You're suggesting that because I don't broadcast my every political opinion, I'm somehow failing my fans or shirking some responsibility, and frankly, I find that not only presumptuous, but incredibly insulting. The studio fell silent, the air thick with tension. This was no longer the light-hearted chat show everyone had tuned in for. This was something raw, something real, something entirely unprecedented. Jimmy tried to backtrack, his voice tinged with nervousness. Reba, I think you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. I have nothing but respect for you and your career. I'm just saying that in times like these, silence can sometimes be interpreted as what? As cowardice, as complicity. Reba cut him off, her voice rising for the first time, sharp and unyielding. Jimmy, let me tell you something about silence. Sometimes silence is wisdom. Sometimes silence is respect for other people's right to think for themselves. And sometimes silence is knowing when to keep your mouth shut instead of lecturing people you don't even know about subjects you clearly don't understand. The audience was frozen to cameras, capturing every moment of this unfolding disaster. Jimmy S. Quick, with his trademark charm, seemed to have abandoned him entirely as he struggled to regain control. That's completely unfair, he said, his voice cracking slightly. We make fun of everyone equally. We're comedians. That's what we do, and frankly, I think you're being a little hypersensitive here. The word hypersensitive was like pouring gasoline on a fire. Reba's eyes blazed with fury. That made it clear Jimmy had just made the worst mistake of his television career. Hypersensitive, she repeated, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. Did you just call me hypersensitive for standing up for my fans and my values? I didn't mean it like that, Jimmy stammered, his face flushing red. I just think maybe you're overreacting to what was meant to be a friendly conversation about important issues. Friendly conversation. Reba stood up from her chair, her full height radiating authority, her presence commanding the room. Jimmy, there was nothing friendly about what you just did. You invited me on your show under the pretense of promoting my music, and then you ambushed me with a political interrogation designed to make me look bad. If I didn't give you the answers you wanted to hear, nobody ambushed you. Jimmy protested, his voice rising to match hers. These are legitimate questions that your fans deserve answers to. If you can't handle a few tough questions, maybe you shouldn't be doing interviews. The audience gasped audibly, the sound echoing through the studio. Jimmy had just crossed a line that no interviewer should ever cross, especially not with a legend like Reba McEntire. But Reba didn't explode as some might have expected. Instead, she went completely still, her expression ice cold, her voice carrying the weight of her decades in the industry. If I can't handle tough questions, she said slowly, each word deliberate and cutting. Jimmy, I've been handling tough questions since before you were old enough to stay up late enough to watch television. I've been grilled by reporters about everything from my divorce to my business decisions to my parenting choices. I've faced down music industry executives who told me I was too old, too independent. I performed through personal tragedies that would have broken lesser people, so don't you dare suggest that I can't handle tough questions. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay updated. Subscribe for more powerful video.